Another dance on the big track. It's the Indian Motorcycle Red Mile, presented by Indian Motorcycles of Lexington. American flat track rolling through a month of mile racing. Jeffery Carver, a big win in our last one in Springfield. A privateer Indian rider taking it to the factory rider, Jared Mees, who does continue to lead this series standings after second last time out. Brandon Robinson representing the Harley-Davidson factory team, looking for a podium here in Kentucky. Dan Bromley on the KTM leads the singles standings. Got a good break after an injury to title contender Brandon Price. Shayna Texter hoping to take advantage and move up. She's very good on the mile tracks. Jason Wygant joined by Ralph Shaheen. Heather DeBow will be patrolling the racetrack all afternoon long. Fans starting to roll in for the Red Mile. Perfect day and night for racing. We had a good one at our last event. Last couple of corners coming up. Bromley's got to be perfect. He is. Bromley wins his second race of the season. Time is running out if anyone wants to make a challenge. It is Carver's race to win. The victory is going to go to Jeffery Carver. Well, that was huge, proving that Jared Mees indeed can be beaten straight up. As far as the point standings goes, Mees is going to have to make big mistakes to let anyone else in it, but at least there's some competition out there.
It's pretty interesting still. I think the battle specifically back there in second, third, fourth, and fifth, going to be pretty fun to watch.
All right, a lot of points on the line tonight at the Red Mile. Talk about this track, Ralph.
Well, it gets its name, of course, from that red clay that makes up this 1 mile length of racetrack. This place opened up for harness racing, and it's actually one of the Triple Crown racetracks for harness racing, so very famous in that part of the world. But in talking to the racers, they're telling me a narrow groove today, especially in the corners.
Let's send it down to Heather DeBow.
Thanks, Jason. We're back here in Lexington at the Red Mile for the second year in a row. And once again, we have a sold-out crowd on hand, and they are ready for some great racing action. Last race at Springfield, we saw Jared Mees' win streak broken by Jeffery Carver Jr., who got his first win on a mile and is looking to go back-to-back tonight. Another rider you might want to keep your eye on is the number 5 of Jake Johnson. He is on that Indian Scout FTR 750 for the first time. And when I spoke to him earlier today, he told me that everything's going good so far, but it is his first time on the bike, so he's still trying to figure things out. In the AFT singles class, a quick update on one of our top riders, Brandon Price, who was injured at the Springfield TT. He was released from the hospital earlier this week and is feeling much better. He said he is hoping to make it to some future events to support his fellow riders, but we look forward to seeing him on track soon. We also saw Dan Bromley take the win and become the first repeat winner in the singles class at the Springfield TT. Another rider you want to keep your eye on here tonight is Ryan Wells. He worked on his motorcycle all week and made some vast improvements, and he feels confident that he will do well here tonight.
Thanks, Heather. Here's the path all the riders will have to take to make the main event. It's a 3-2-1 format. 3 heat races which seed 2 semis, and then we'll go racing in each class. 15 laps for singles, and the big twins run 25 laps, which equals 25 miles. Math's so easy, even I can do it. So let's show you some of the qualifying highlights, starting with these incredible starts from Jared Mees.
Well, Jared told me the outside is where you want to be for the start. Jared gets away, but look at Kenny Coolbeth. He was on the outside of row 2, got all the way to 3rd.
Right off the rip, because they're starting where the traction is on the groove, and that'll be a theme throughout. Second heat race after Mees wins the first one. Brian Smith getting stronger and stronger as he returns from a broken leg, wins his heat race over Henry Wiles with a pretty good gap. And then some drama here. Last week's winner, Jeffery Carver, bike problems for him. He would still be seated into the semi. Meanwhile, Sammy Halbert coming on strong.
I talked with Sammy. He said that bike is 75 to 80% of where he wants it to be. He's very happy with how the Harley's coming along.
And then into the semis, more good starts from Mees and Coolbeth from around the outside. And once Mees gets to start, he's pretty hard to hold back. So he goes on to get the victory there. Who could challenge him in the main event tonight? Well, on a mile track, you've got to look at Brian Smith. Getting stronger and stronger, wins the heat, then wins the semi. But Brian's a smart cat. He knows it's going to come down to the start.
I got the whole shot and I won. Jared, every time he goes out, he gets the whole shot, he wins. And I think it's been basically that same way every race. So the start's going to be important, not get hung up in traffic. There's one line, so passing's going to be very tough.
It'll be great to see Smith and Mees tangling in the main event for the twins later on. But our singles class is coming up next. Dan Bromley's been all smiles lately, leading the series standings. We'll talk to him, and then it's time to go racing in the singles main. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins, and by American Flat Tracker Clothing Company. Find your groove at AmericanFlatTracker.com. And by Law Tigers, America's motorcycle lawyers. Sold out crowd here in Lexington, Kentucky, getting ready to focus on the singles division. Dan Bromley, big points lead right now, but there's still a lot of contenders.
There really is, because it's wide open in the fact that Brandon Price is out due to injury, and Bromley's been so good on TTs, but what if he stumbles here tonight?
Here now with points leader and first-time repeat winner in the singles class, Dan Bromley. Dan, the competition this season in the singles class has been very competitive. What would you say is giving you your edge over the other riders?
I think a lot of confidence. You know, I've ridden in the twins as many of the other riders have, and having the confidence to come back to the singles and be able to ride it as hard as I can. I know my size plays a big factor in that, with me being 6'3", which is about 5 inches taller than everybody else I'm racing, so I can really manhandle the bike and put it where I want it.
Now, during the week, you have a full-time job as a carpenter, and you're also racing full-time. So what type of challenges does that pose to you to be able to do both of those?
Oh, it's definitely hard being able to do both. You know, working 8 hours during the day and then trying to get as many hours as I can at night in the garage. Trying to enjoy it, you know, working as hard as I can at both my job and racing, which some people look at as a job, and I'm trying to make it a job, hopefully in the next few years.
Both your wins came on the TT this season, so I bet you're hungry to get that mile win. What is it going to take to get it done here today?
Oh, definitely being aggressive off the start and being in that lead group. You know, if you're not in the top 5 in the first lap, you're going to have to work really hard to get up there. Being able, my size, I have to almost double draft to be able to get the win, and I know if I come off in third and I'm right there with the top 2, I have a good chance, and that's my strategy tonight, is to be able to come off turn 3 and 4 and third, and hopefully come to that stripe first.
That's Dan Bromley, our points leader here in the singles class, looking to get his first mile win of the season.
You know racing's good when a rider wants to be in third in the last turn in order to set up a win. And we'll show you how close it gets in a mile race. Kevin Stallings of the 99 going inside of the #1 of Colby Carlisle, your defending champ. Stallings makes the move and then pulls away very strong in the heat race. Won a mile race earlier this year in Phoenix. Now here's Bromley in heat race #2, but another KTM rider, Tanner Dean, setting him up.
Well, this is exactly why you don't want to be in the lead. Look at this. Look at Tanner working the draft.
Perfect. That's KTM versus KTM there. Ryan Wells, relatively unchallenged on the Richie Morris Racing Honda. He wins heat 3. Into the semi, another dominating performance by the rising star Kevin Stallings. Could be the rider to beat tonight. There's the rest of the top 5. And then this is a spectacular race in semi 2. 3 riders going to come out of the final corner, duking it out. Carlisle, Wells, Shayna Texter. Shayna goes for the big draft.
We talked about drafting from second. Shayna almost pulls it off drafting from third. What an amazing move, and she just loses it at the line in a photo finish.
Let's talk to Carlisle about that win.
Leading off 4 is very risky here. That draft's so strong today, and obviously you saw that, you know, I came from 4th to 1st a couple times, and I'd have liked to have been in 3rd, but I guess we won it, so that's cool, and the bike's working good. We made a humongous gamble, but we're at a casino, so might as well try it.
Well, he said he was going to take more risks this year. I guess that's what he's doing. So we are getting set for our main event. Carlisle won the last time he raced a mile with these singles bikes.
Yeah, and you know, that's the one thing he's been looking for, is a little bit of consistency, right? He said he was going to take the risks. He's been doing that. Now he needs to use those risks with some consistency to start racking up some more wins and maybe have a shot at this title.
Stallings really good in qualifying so far today, winning his heat and semi. He has the top grid position on the 99 Honda. Shayna Texter has not won a main event this year, but she dominated a lot of the miles a year ago, so this could be the breakthrough for her. Bromley only 10th on the grid, your points leader.
Well, we saw how good she was in the semi earlier. Yep. This could be the night she breaks through.
And remember how critical the start is here, and Stallings in the good position on the outside. On the 99, trying to get out of the groove. And he's going to use it to lock down the lead, leading Carlisle out of turn 2. And Texter's right there in 3rd.
That outside starting spot is so good, and Ryan used it to his advantage, and we know he knows how to win.
Okay, so here it is, a battle, and already Texter looking to make moves, going from third to potentially first. No, Stallings gonna stall her drive, hold her off going into turn 3.
Shayna's got that Husqvarna really working, and boy, it is strong here tonight.
Well, remember, Ralph, the starts have been terrible for her this year, so we have not seen her up front like this. She's ready to take the lead. No, it's Carlisle that goes from third to first.
Well, that's going to be the thing. Where are you going to want to be at the end of this race? Not now. It's really when we come down to lap 15 where you've got to be in the right position. And from what we've seen, third place is probably where you want to be, believe it or not.
And there it is, Shayna able to grab the lead from Colby Carlisle. They battled all year last year for the championship in this division. Texter struggles a bit on the smaller tracks and the TTs. Really good on the big tracks and the miles like this. She's out front, but let's see if the lead will hold as she leads the draft. Yeah, not for long.
And third place will do it again. Colby Carlisle. And look at, Jason, how narrow that groove is in the corners. As I told you, I've been talking to a lot of the riders about this. And Colby showed you right there, if you just get a little bit out of line, it can be disastrous.
Now it's Stallings' turn to go to the lead. Texter's gonna go right with him. 3 wide. Also the 4th place rider, Jesse Janish, right there. He put his hand up coming into that corner. So now it's a 4-rider duel for the lead. Let's see how well the draft can work. Can 4th ratchet his way toward the front? We're gonna find out.
The other thing that was interesting going into 3 there was that Shayna made that pass on the outside.
And inside, down the front stretch, Carlisle tried it, couldn't quite get Stallings, did take the measure of Texter.
The interesting thing is that unless you've got a handful of bike lengths on anybody coming off the 4 on that last lap, nobody's going to want to be in the lead. So what kind of games will they play to give up the lead so they're in the right spot coming off the 4 on that final lap?
Now, all about putting yourself in the right position. You can't go too slow or the field will swallow you right up. Everyone knows where they want to be, but executing it's going to be tough. Let's see what Texter can do now that she's in the 3rd place spot. Stallings pulls to the inside, uses the draft to retake the lead from Carlisle. Janish right there in 4th. Dawson Schiffer has a problem with his motorcycle. He is out, but the track is clear, so no red flags, restarts, anything like that. They're free to battle. Looks like Carlisle going to try to retake the lead here on the Estenson Yamaha #1. Texter on that factory-supported Husqvarna right there. Been dialing that bike in, only got it about a week before our opener at Daytona. They're making big progress.
Oh, man, look how close.
On board, you see the draft happen, and she makes that move 3rd to 1st. So Texter's well established. She's won a lot of miles. Carlisle won the last mile we raced this year, but don't count out Stallings. He was quick last time we were here.
Now, if you remember last year, after Kevin Stallings took the victory, he was DQ'd due to a sound violation. So they took the win away, including his 25 points, but then they gave the win back, so it's in the record books. But he told me that it just didn't feel good to get a complete win, so he's looking for some redemption here at the Red Mile tonight.
All right, thanks, Heather, and he's in a good position to do it, staying right in that 3-rider pack. Here comes Carlisle again. Wow, late move by Stallings, and he's going to take the lead at the halfway mark.
I really like how Shayna's riding there in 2nd place right now. She's been very solid on the bottom of an extremely narrow groove, and you can see how bumpy it is coming off the corner. She's made passes on the outside and the inside. The Husky is solid tonight.
Look how bumpy it is into this corner. You're going to see them right in the center here, just fighting it out not only with each other, but the racetrack. She managed to get low in that corner, like you said, but it is tough to do that consistently. She's pulled it off so far. Here comes the cavalry. They're going to challenge again. Stallings, Carlisle. Carlisle gets the edge.
You know, she's had an opportunity now to start building up a notebook on this Husqvarna, and I think that's one of the things that's helping her out the most. This is what, mile number 5 that we've had lately? So that's a lot of knowledge now that she has built up as to what that bike likes and what she needs out of it to be competitive.
Stallings retakes the lead. This is the way this is going to play out over these final couple of laps as they all try to position themselves for the final lap. And Jesse Janish in 4th isn't going anywhere either. 4 riders on a track with plenty of opportunity to make passes. Going to duke it out for the win here in Kentucky. Fantastic battle with the rising stars of American flat track here, the Lexington, Kentucky Red Mile. Kevin Stallings in the lead. Shayna Texter, Colby Carlisle, all over him. These three have been duking it out and passing each other throughout the race. 5 laps to go. Now the strategies begin to play out. Who wants to lead? Who wants to hang back?
We've been talking about how narrow the groove is. I'll tell you what might become a bigger story is how bumpy that narrow groove is becoming. Watch as we go down into 1 and 2. It is just nasty down there on the bottom.
Yeah, it almost looks like they're on the edge of control, but they're doing it every lap. Stallings on the 99 takes the lead. Here's the corner you're talking about. Getting bucked around quite a bit here.
Look at right in there.
Speed bump in a corner with spinning tires on one of the fastest tracks you'll race on all year. Texter on the 52, trying to get Stallings. Carlisle pulls up right behind. Looks like Shayna's gonna lock down the lead again.
Colby had to back out of it a little bit as they got to the corner. That's the thing about the draft, especially when you're in third, and it's gonna be something to keep an eye on as we get to the last laps. When you're back there, you can get pulled in even deeper than you want to by the air.
All right, so Texter back to third. Here's Heather with an update.
Well, Shayna told me earlier she thought she had that semi-won. She could have sworn that she beat Colby Carlisle to the line. But her and her team have been working very hard, dialing in her suspension, and she looks strong tonight. She is going for her first win of the season.
And a good position for it right now. They double draft. They go outside and inside on Carlisle. And now she's going to use the outside to pass Stallings as well. What a move.
It's all positioning right now. All three of these riders have shown they have the speed and the skill set to pull it off at the line. It's just who's going to be in the right position. And based on what we've seen, Jason, third looks like the right position coming off of fourth.
And they have cleared Janish in fourth. It's going to come down to these three. Also cool to see 3 different brands. You get a Honda, Husqvarna, and a Yamaha battling for it. They go into the full tuck, get as aerodynamic as they can in this backstretch, and it looks like Texter has retaken the lead, at least for the moment.
Look at how Colby hung back a little bit. He knows he's got the speed he needs from third. Let's see if he's a little bit patient and just stays right there and uses it on that last lap.
We're about to reach the critical juncture.
Oh, he's going to go for it.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually to see Carlisle grab the lead at the beginning of the final lap. He said he wanted to be in third and not leading off the final corner. Maybe he knows they'll pass him back in the backstretch and he'll try to return favor after it. Here we go. How are they going to play it? Stallings is going to be aggressive. Going to go for the lead on Carlisle. Texter's held back to third.
Okay, so Shayna's in third. Is that going to be what she needs? Or is Colby just going to be strong enough? Look, he's actually pulling away a little bit.
It's not the strategy you wanted, but it might be the strategy that works. Here comes the draft. Stallings on the 99 is going to try to pull up. No! Carlisle holds on and wins his second straight race at a mile. What a battle. Carlisle said he didn't want to lead off turn 4. Sometimes just take it any way you can get it. He made it work.
I am stunned that he was able to pull that off from there. Here they come. Stallings right up to the inside on that 99. Shayna got a little loose getting into that final corner there. And maybe that killed her drive coming off the last turn to make the run.
Yeah, and in contrast, Carlisle really greased that corner. Was really quick through there, had a little gap. Stallings made up most of it, but not enough. Another fantastic mile finish. Here's Heather with the winner.
Colby Carlisle, your winner here at the Red Mile. We just heard the crowd go crazy for you. Second win of the season. You told me earlier this year that you were going to take more risk and focus on wins. That sure looked like it worked out for you tonight.
Yeah, you know, we had a tragic accident this week. My new puppy passed away, and I raced with his little jersey in my shirt, so I couldn't do anything but win tonight. You know, I had to win for him and my whole family and everyone. That race was absolutely crazy. You know, I didn't think I had a shot, especially when I didn't want to lead off 4. You know, that's why I passed across the front stretch, but they apparently didn't want to lead off 4 either, so You know, I let off 4. I did a move that I practiced in the semi, and it worked. I cannot believe it, but wow, you know, I am stoked. 2 wins this year. The risk's paying off a little bit. I got to thank my whole team. Stinson Racing, you know, they provide me with everything I need to be at the front. Thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to more.
So there are your final results. Janish 4th, Jordan Harris, solid run 5th, Avery, Mishler, Wells, Bromley 9th. So they're going to make up a little bit of ground on Bromley in the standings. There is the rest of the 18-rider field. More great racing on a mile track. Let's send it back to Heather.
Kevin Stallings finishing 2nd tonight. Kevin, it was 3 wide there coming to the finish. What were you fighting on the racetrack, and what more did you need?
I was just struggling getting a good line, and I was just starting to dry out, and I don't know if my tire was affected. But I thought I got him, but I guess not. But I'm kind of disappointed. I was running good and leaving the pack all day and ended up 2nd. I didn't get my 2-peat here, but hopefully I can come back next year and be running up front again, and hopefully I can run up front the next few races.
So Bromley only 9th. They're starting to close in.
Well, I think Dan would like to see a few more TTs on this schedule because he's obviously the master of those this year. But keep your eye on Colby Carlisle. He was 10th in the points just a couple of weeks ago. And now all of a sudden he finds himself in 4th and within striking distance. Heather.
Shayna Texter bringing it home 3rd today. Shayna, it was quite a dogfight all day for you, not only in the main event, but the semi. I can kind of see some disappointment in your face. What more could you have done against those riders out there?
Man, it was tough. You know, I felt like all day, you know, I had to really ride hard in the corners to keep up there. Their bikes are like rocket ships. It's crazy. But, you know, I felt like if I stayed in the draft, I had a chance. And I definitely didn't want to lead off of 4 because I know them guys were eating me up. I was kind of testing it all race long. So I tried to be a little bit smart, and I left them gapped a little bit too far going into 3. And I just couldn't get the run on them. But, man, to come away with a 3rd place on a mile, it's a big stepping stone for me in Husqvarna motorcycle. It's exciting. I can't wait to get this bike up on top, though.
Well, she's on the podium after a great race along with Colby Carlisle and Kevin Stallings. Had a great race at our last event, and Jeffery Carver scored the victory. We'll talk to him about that. You're watching American Flat Track on NBCSN. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Indian Motorcycle. Be legendary. By E3 Spark Plugs, the official spark plug of AFT. And by Vance & Hines, the presenting sponsor of AFT Twins. All season long, our defending series champion Jared Mees saying this man, Jeffery Carver Jr., might be the guy who poses his biggest threat, and he proved it at our last event.
You know, after Sacramento, with a little bit of engine failure stuff and some mechanicals, I just had a lot of energy stored up inside.
Jeffery Carver, born and raised right here in Illinois, is trying to win Illinois' biggest race on the flat track calendar.
Every single time I go home to Springfield, it's always just kind of been just like a good place. And I always like the dirt, I always like the track, the way that it always lays out.
The veterans, Mees and Coolbeth, continue to battle, but they have not had an answer for the Wizard on the 23 in the lead.
Going into the main event after the semi, I was giving myself, I was like, there's about 20% chance I can break the draft. If I can't, I'm gonna try and sit back and figure out what it takes to get to the finish line first. Just kind of happened, you know, it broke the draft. Tried to breathe, it was getting hot, I was starting to lose my breath towards the end of the main. Everything just kind of fell together.
It is Carver's race to win. The victory is gonna go to Jeffery Carver.
My parents have never been at a national when I've won. I've always been with one mechanic, you know, out kind of by myself. You know, with all the fans and everybody, it was just amazing to have everybody there. What do you do after you win the Springfield Mile? Well, I'm gonna go do what else I love, and I'm gonna go do some fishing. So I fished 3 days. I don't know how long it'll take to sit in on the wind. It's just good to get to that point where I felt that I've always kind of deserved to be and that I've had the potential to be. Pressure sometimes gets to me. You know, I had some people that were kind of like, they kind of thought I was just not motivated. They'd see me all calm, but what they don't understand is that I'm sitting there thinking, you know, being in that proper mindset is what I think prepares me and helps me be ready for this. We work all year long to make it to this main event that's 8 minutes long. You know, if you're not happy, if you're not comfortable with your team, if you got people saying, if you don't do this, you're not gonna have the ride next year, all that stuff doesn't help. And what we have built as a team has given me the capabilities to be able to be relaxed and be ready to do my job when it's time to flip the switch.
Well, he's flipped it. He could win again here.
You know, Jason, to me, it's not about how Jeffrey's riding. It's more about the mechanical reliability of his bike this year. He's had some issues there, and if that hadn't been the problem, he'd scored the points he could have on those given nights, he could be second in the championship this year.
Let's talk tires. Got a crew chief, Brandon Bergen, with the Dunlop Tire Tech Tip.
So the choice of tire today was a Dunlop R8. We have a choice of a R10 or an 8, which is a 10, just a little bit harder. So today when we first came here, the track was a little bit more loamy. We had fresh tires on, fresh knobs. As the track wore in and the grooves started to form, we start really watching tires more and try and get even tire wear, and we want the tire wore down a little bit more so we can control heat more or less. When you got a real tall block, it builds a lot of heat when the pressure's low. So we just started shaping the tires as the night comes on, and hopefully we get a good tire for the main event.
Well, the pressure is going to be on in that main event. We're going to talk to the factory Harley-Davidson riders about staying focused through 25-mile-long laps. And then it's going to be time for our AFT Twins main event. Jeffery Carver aiming for 2 straight. Welcome back. The lights are on. The sun has set here in Kentucky. We are awaiting our main event, 25 long laps. How do the riders stay focused through that? We talked to the factory Harley team.
For me to stay mentally focused during a race, it's just second nature. I've been doing it forever, and like I've come from racing, you know, when I was 10, when I was 14, indoor short tracks. There's a lot of stuff happened, so I've been bred to deal with all that controversy and stuff early on, banging bars, upsetting riders on indoor short track, and still like be able to tunnel in and focus. And I feel like that brought me to where I am today, so I can kind of block out anything I got going on and just be ready to get it done.
It doesn't take much to not stay focused, really. I'm here to do my job and go out and win, and you know, every time I hop on the bike and put my helmet on, it's game face.
I like to kind of stay loose and almost not think about it. I like to have fun a little bit, but when it comes down to it, it's definitely serious, and you had to have a goal in mind and focus on that when it comes to putting your helmet on and going to the starting line.
As long as I have my grandma's Go Fast cookies, I'm a happy camper on race day.
Oh, hey, I'd like to have some of those. There's Sammy Halbert getting better.
Sammy's been working a lot on the Harley-Davidson XG 750. Says the power's good, plenty of strength at the far end of the straightaways. Needs to work in the rear end to get better drive off the corner.
Just saw Davis Fisher, been very fast after jumping on the Richie Morris Indian. And there is Brian Smith, has not won a race now in 1 calendar year, which is a rare slump for him. So he really wants to get this victory tonight. Brad Baker, the other factory Indian Wrecking Crew rider, is 3rd on the rider lineup, but everyone wants to start on the outside, Ralph. He actually is going to pick row 2.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be Jared Mees in the #1 spot that everybody wants on the outside of that front row. Let's see how many spots Baker on the outside of row 2 can gain at the start here.
Here we go. The Red Mile is underway. As expected, Mees absolutely shoots off the line with a big hole shot. He's got Brian Smith right behind him. So the K&N Hole Shot Award goes to Mees. The question is, does Brian Smith have the pace to keep his old rival in check all night long? It's going to be a long race, 25 laps.
Boy, Baker had 3rd, just about locked up. Then he got pushed wide through the middle of the corner and got shuffled deep back into the field. But he had the right idea. But boy, Mees and Smith, here we go.
Excellent job by Halbert, putting the Harley up into 3rd, and he's got Carver, our last race winner, in 4th. Already the lead 2 trying to break away.
Well, these two would love to do that, wouldn't they? Get away from the pack and settle it between the 2 of them. But it is going to be a bumpy night here on the Red Mile.
Henry Wiles in the 17 in the mix as well, trying to go for top 5, battling it out with Halbert and Carver. Little wiggle on the back stretch for both of the riders up front. They probably don't even notice that.
A little? Wow, I was shaking just sitting here in the booth. I mean, Smith's bike looks nasty compared to how much smoother Mees' bike is when it comes to that shaking of the front handlebars.
Yeah, we even saw a little bit of that from Smith in the heat race and semi. He tends to ignore it, sometimes doesn't even notice it. That one, yeah, that might have been big enough to get his attention. Here's Carver. He's now gotten around Halbert, and the rest of the field close.
That's becoming a pothole down there in 1 and 2.
Yeah, they need a quick paving because they're hitting this thing at speed. There's another wiggle, head shake they call that on the 23 of Carver, trying to set up for these corners.
And look at Sammy Halbert on the Harley. We told you how that bike is really coming around. He's sitting here in front of Wiles on the 17, solidly in fourth, trying to hang on to the backside of Carver on the 23.
But the damage is done. Carver now is going to have to, without a draft, bridge the gap to your lead duo, and that's not going to be easy.
Sammy's got his teammate right there with him as well, Robinson on the 44.
All right, good to see those Harleys up front, going to battle for podiums here. Carver and Wiles just ahead of them, the 69 and the 44, and there's Baker. So that gamble starting on the second row, it worked well for a couple of riders like Chenny Coolbeth in the qualifying races. It did not work for Baker here. He's got a lot of work to do to get to the podium.
Yeah, Brad doesn't really seem to be able to move up too much through the draft just yet either.
He's got the 67 of Fisher right behind him, then the 5 of Jake Johnson, who we mentioned, Estenson Racing Team, now on an Indian. And it's 2 Indians up front, no changes with Mees and Smith. Carver's doing everything he can to try to inch up on them, bringing Henry Wiles with him, still battling on the factory Harleys of Robinson and Halbert. And we did see not only the orange gear, but also the orange brake rotor of Brandon Robinson in the rear.
Yeah, using that brake a little bit here today. But still, the top 2, by far the strongest. The best fight, though, is back here, just outside the top 5.
Carver and Wiles trying to get away from that group. There's Brad Baker on the number 6. He's putting some serious heat on the 44 Robinson, the 69 of Halbert. And now Davis Fisher going for a pass. Almost made it happen on Baker.
Davis on that 67 took a look to the inside, couldn't get it done. Remember, we've been talking a lot about how bumpy that groove is. It's also extremely narrow. And you know that if you get just a little bit off of it, you're going to lose a lot of ground. So these guys really have to think about risk-reward as to when you try to make that pass. Because if you don't get it done in time, it can force you off that line. And we saw that happen to Baker on that opening start, and it shoved him all the way back.
What will be Brian Smith's strategy here in second on the number 4? Is he going to sit here and wait behind Mees? He better not wait for long. Mees stretching it out.
Yeah, that's the problem that Brian has right now, is that Jared's got his head down, and he's putting in some great laps right now, and he's pulling away. I mean, not by a little bit, by a lot. And it's going to get to a point where Brian, with nobody behind him to help him, is going to struggle to catch him.
So hard to do this, to break the draft. We heard Jeffery Carver say in our last mile race, he figures it's about a 20% chance that you can break the draft on a mile, and he was able to do it, and now Mees doing it this weekend. This is a desperate time for Brian Smith in second, and in fact, Carver is starting to close up a bit from third.
Well, that would be a good thing for Brian, actually, if he could get somebody to help come with him and push him, draft together, and maybe inch back towards our race leader, Jared Mees.
Henry Wiles in fourth, quietly very consistent this year, second in the point standings on the number 17, and he's usually very good on the TTs, but he has proven tough on the miles, and holding off this big pack right now, he is. They are going at it furiously. Halbert, Baker, Robinson, Fisher looking to make a move. He's got it. Let's see if he can hold it into the corner. He does.
Davis with a nice pass there. And what was even the best part of that pass was completing it and then staying within that narrow groove so that he doesn't slip back and lose the spot he had just worked so hard to get.
Baker pulling out of the draft, trying to get the 69 of Halbert, and he makes it stick. So they're getting a little more aggressive now, 10 laps into a 25-lap main event. So Baker, can he pull away from this group, or is now he just part of this mix where they're going to use the draft to go right back by him? It sure looks like they're going to try. Yep, here comes Halbert, here comes Fisher. They're both going to get around the 6.
Well, it's okay at this point. If you're Brad, you know,
oh
no!
Fisher!
Fisher down hard.
Into the air fence. Looked like he had scrubbed most of his speed before he got there. He's mad, though, not because he's hurt, but because he was in contention and riding very well. The red flag, wheeling caution lights, they're all out, and that means we're going to restart this thing.
Well, it looks to me, I don't think there's any bumping in here so much as he just got into that loose stuff off that groove, and the front end went away.
Oh, Ralph, you said it all night. That groove's narrow. If you just miss it, that's what's going to happen.
And I think that's why he was so frustrated, because he knew he was right there. Boy, Baker's right on the inside of him, but there's not any significant contact. You can see they're too far apart. It's just he got up and that loose stuff in the front washed away.
Man, and also washing away a great opportunity, top 5 or maybe even a podium. So a restart, the big benefactor could be Brian Smith. He had lost touch with our leader Mies in the number 1. He's right there with him now, but again, Mies just shoots off the line.
You can see how Brian tried to move out right away a little bit further outside to maximize as much traction as he could, and it helped him some.
Curious to see what Carver can do here on the number 23 in 3rd. He had a big gap to make up. Thanks to the restart, he's a lot closer. He also has Brad Baker on the 6 right there with him. They'll battle with each other, maybe help each other a little bit with the draft. Man, Baker loves that inside line and actually pushed Carver off the groove.
And look at how much ground Carver lost when he got off the groove there. I thought Henry Wiles was going to get by as well.
Well, that blows Carver's chance that he had with the restart. Now it's Brad Baker with the opportunity to get to his teammates and try to go for the win tonight. Carver has recovered in 4th. You mentioned Wiles is right there with him. Halbert and Robinson. The Harleys have been up front pretty consistent throughout this main. This is a good run for them.
Well, again, this is a brand new motorcycle for them, the XG 750, and every race has been a learning experience. And as we said,
whoa, Carver way wide, and same thing with Wiles.
Well, and another rider even further back behind him. And again, it just goes to show you what happens if you get offline here today.
Now it's the 44 Robinson setting up his Harley-Davidson teammate. Halbert makes a nice clean pass. The main thing we're going to watch for now is staying on the groove. We heard it could be an issue. Now we have seen it. We'll show you what happened.
Watch as they get just a little bit wide here, and there's no catching it. Now you're just trying to hang on to stay off the air fence.
Now it just looks like you're having fun in the parking lot, slinging donuts and kicking up some roost. And that sends Carver from 4th place to 14th. And we thought he might have been setting himself up to try to make a run for the lead, and now he's out of the top 10. Battle is on. Got Jake Johnson in this fight with the Harleys.
Really like what I'm seeing out of the factory Harleys here tonight, because as we said, this is what, mile number 5 in a row. Those guys have built up a notebook now. They're starting to figure out what this bike wants, what they need out of it, and they've been working so hard and feverishly to get the Harleys towards the front, and it's really starting to show. Plenty of speed at the far end of the straightaways here. They can run them deep into the corners. They just got to get good drive off the corner to get competitive with Mies, Smith, and Baker up near the front.
Yeah, this has been fantastic to watch, too. Robinson and Halbert have passed each other back and forth throughout the first half of this main event. Can Brian Smith or Brad Baker get a hook in the leader, Jared Mies, and use the draft to pass him? Or is Mies about to win another? Stay tuned. Jared Mies rolling, trying to get away from Brian Smith and Brad Baker. The factory Indian, the Harley-Davidson team still fighting inside the top 5. Here's Heather.
Last year, we watched a great battle between Sammy Halbert and Jared Mies. Sammy actually led 19 laps, which is majority of the race here at the Red Mile last season. But tonight, we're watching him battle with his factory Harley-Davidson teammate, Brandon Robinson, both of which finished in the top 5 last year. Sammy Halbert got a 3rd, and Brandon finished 5th. Both riders right now racing hard to get yet another top 5.
Oh, it has been a renaissance day to see both of the Harleys in the top 5 and maybe more. They are putting some serious heat on the 17 of Wiles.
Oh, yeah, they're coming on strong. The motor company is making some noise, and they're going to be back in the fight here real soon. Getting into the top 5 is one step, then it's the podium after that, and then to the top step of the podium.
Yeah, and you got some pretty proud and aggressive riders there. Halbert, when you give him the equipment, he can run with anybody, and he's proving it right now all over Wiles. And actually, Brad Baker on the number 6 is in his sights as well. Chad Coates on the 49 getting in on the party. Believe he has cleared Robinson, so watch out for the 49. He's in this fight also. Halbert trying to set up Wiles in the draft of the backstretch. Wiles on the 17. There's Coates. Yes, he has gotten around Robinson. And all the while, you see that number 6 of Brad Baker looming in the distance, but getting closer each lap.
What you don't see is the top 2, because they are gone. Mees, and Smith.
2 to go. We're going to try to settle this battle for the top 5 and maybe the podium. Could Wiles get Baker? If Halbert gets all the way up to Baker and takes 3rd, he would be ecstatic to put the factory Harley on the box. Meanwhile, what can you say about Jared Mees? We know how good Brian Smith is on these miles. The strategy would be to stay with him and draft. Wasn't able to stay with him tonight. Okay, here's that podium battle. Baker battling with Wiles.
Henry got a little too wide there, and it cost him as the white comes out.
Oh, that would have been huge for Henry to be on the box this time. Baker going to try to steal it away. Coming down to the last lap. Wiles gets him back.
Again, if you slip a little bit, Sammy Halbert's sitting right there to put the Harley on the podium.
And Chad Coase also. But the only person not in a draft right now is Mees. He has broken it. He has broken everyone.
He's broken their spirit. That is what he's done.
Probably on the verge of breaking some records with the performances he's putting in here. Huge lead and yet another win. Jared Mees dominates the Red Mile. Good run for Brian Smith in 2nd, but you know he wants more. Here's the podium fight. Wiles, Baker, right down to the line, and I think Baker was able to retake the spot at the checkers.
Well, this was another example of Jared Mees, Kenny Tolbert, and Indian, and it's a combination that is so hard to beat right now because they consistently keep working so hard to find even more out of that #1 bike, and they keep finding more and more speed and more ways to just break the spirit of their competition.
6 wins in 8 starts this year and 14 out of the last 20. Jared Mees is dominant, and we'll talk to him after this. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. By Replay XD, the official action camera of American Flat Track. And by American Flat Track, America's original extreme sport. Sunoco Go the Distance Award, totaling up all the miles raced in practice and in our main events this year. Henry Wiles leads the standings in that division. Now the Motul move of the race. Brian Smith needed a break. He got a restart, but he couldn't hang with Jared Mees.
Jared Mees was so strong in all of his starts today. He found that outside slot, made it work every time, used it on this last one, and then just pulled away from everybody.
And now he's pulled up on the podium with Heather.
Jared Mees, your winner here at the Red Mile, getting some congratulations from your daughter Hayden there. That has to be special to be able to share moments with her like this, correct?
Oh, no doubt. I love having her here, and ever since she was born, she's been really good luck for me the last couple years. So love having her here, and it's, you know, it's Kentucky, and it's kind of Nikki Hayden's hometown state here, and we named Hayden after Nikki's past. It's cool to come here and win it, honestly, and you know, hats off to my entire team. They worked phenomenal, obviously, today. The Indian motorcycle was working so good today. We were picking up and laying the laps down, and we were smooth and got good starts and did what we had to do today.
Smooth and got good starts. That has been the book for Mees, especially these last 2 seasons. Henry Wiles, another good run for him, maintained 2nd in the points. Brian Smith slowly moving back into the top 10 after missing some rounds with a broken leg. He is 9th, just ahead of Brandon Robinson. Let's talk to Brian.
Brian Smith coming home 2nd in tonight's main event. Brian, we saw you keeping up with Jared there in the beginning, but then he got away from you. What happened?
Yeah, the track was really one line, as you can see, really slick. And I was with him, tried to make up a little bit of time, push a little bit, and I'd mess up, and he'd inch away. And it was like every time I'd just try to make up an inch, he'd gain an inch because you just couldn't push that hard. And hats off to him. He was just steady Eddie, a little bit better than me, and that's all she wrote. Just trying, and he just kept gapping me. And hats off to my crew, Indian Motorcycles and Indian Motorcycle Oil, Allstate for having my back.
Great battle for the podium here. Henry Wiles in the 17 momentarily has it over Brad Baker. Baker is able to hold him off. These two not really friendly off the track, so that was a big spot for Baker.
There at the end, Henry Wiles, we seem to run into each other on the racetrack a lot this weekend, and You know, he was slide jobbing me and trying to push me off the groove, and I kind of retaliate back, and it just it created a kind of a fight between us on the racetrack. But I think I might have got him by like a quarter of a wheel at the line. So I mean, it was a good race. I mean, coming home third, the Indian Wrecking Crew being 1, 2, 3 again, that was pretty impressive. Happy to be up there with my teammates. Hats off to the whole crew. It's awesome to get third here in Kentucky, and just excited to move on to the next one.
The next one will be the Okc Mile. Obviously, that's in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and it's going to be one more opportunity for the Harley guys, right? They've been building up their speed on the miles. We'll see. Maybe they can get on the podium here in Oklahoma City.
The story up front is the same. Jared Mees is back on top. Jeffery Carver got a hook in him at our last event. Carver with some bad luck this time. Colby Carlisle takes the victory in the singles class. For Ralph Shaheen and Heather DeBoe, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching.